Hey guys. So if you're like me and you were unsure about the impact of some of Raynor's talents, then this video is for you. Since his rework some time ago, I've been having a lot of fun with Raynor, but the in-game tooltips really never gave me the full picture. So I did what any reasonable person would do, perform an exhaustive test and compile all the data. What really got me is how deep some of these differences are when it comes to his talents. Before we jump into the numbers, I want to note that Heroes of the Storm is a game all about flexibility, so the purpose of this video is not to tell you that you have to pick certain talents, but more to provide the clarity that I find the in-game tooltips are lacking. That being said, let's get things started. At level 1, Raynor has 3 choices and talents to make, 2 more general damage increases and 1 specialized one. For our comparison, we're going to be looking at the more general damage increases from Veteran Marksman and Ace in the Hole. Just a note, his third talent is a no contest increase in damage on maps like Battlefield of Eternity, where you need to race, or really any situation where you're going to be using Raynor more for camps than teamfights. So that we can understand some of these comparisons, we need to understand his trait, Give Him Some Pepper. Give Him Some Pepper causes every 4th basic attack to splash in a small area and deal 125% more damage to the main target. With that out of the way, let's go over the 2 talents. Ace in the Hole causes Raynor to deal 15% more damage to any stunned or slowed targets. This translates to a damage increase on his basic attacks of 16 at level 1 or 33 at level 20. This talent is super busted, as it also influences any source of damage from Raynor, so his ultimates, the splash from Give Him Some Pepper, his Qs, everything. It's also important to note that Ace in the Hole is additive to the procs of Give Him Some Pepper, not multiplicative. This is up against Veteran Marksman, where Raynor gains a stacking 0.75% increase to procs of Give Him Some Pepper when the main target is a hero. In-game, this translates to an increase to the damage of Give Him Some Pepper of 0.78 at 1 and 1.7 at 20. So you'll typically see an increase of 1 or 2 damage per proc due to rounding. Since both of these talents scale off of basic attack damage, we'll just be comparing the overall increase in basic attack damage at 1, since they should change relationally as Raynor levels up. Comparing procs of each talent, we can see that it takes 40 instances of landing Give 'Em Some Pepper in order for it to provide more damage than Ace in the Hole. However, this isn't the best comparison as the 2 talents proc at different rates. To illustrate this, we need to take a look at how often he can proc Ace in the Hole. In Raynor's base kit, his Q can slow targets for 2 seconds in total every 10 seconds, which means he has a base 20% uptime on slows. But, since Heroes of the Storm is a team game, and because of the prevalence of slows and stuns, I've included both a 50 and 75% uptime on Ace in the Hole to illustrate the massive difference in provided damage. Comparing their damage increase over 100 attacks, we can see that with its natural 25% uptime, it takes 100 attacks for Veteran Marksman to come close to the 20% uptime Ace in the Hole, and that's assuming you hit every single proc of Give 'Em Some Pepper onto a hero, allowing it to stack up every time. When you compare this to the 50 or 75% uptime Ace in the Hole, there is no contest whatsoever. I'm also being very generous to Veteran's Marksman and not including the damage from Raynor's Qs. I also want to note here, as it was a misconception amongst my playgroup, Veteran Marksman has 0 influence on the splash from Give 'Em Some Pepper, while Ace in the Hole does impact it. Because I know some of you are going to be curious, we're going to push this to the extreme and compare. Pushing out our examples to 600 total attacks, we see that in order to compete with a decent uptime Ace in the Hole, Veteran Marksman needs to proc 125 times, which can be achieved across 500 attacks, which is roughly 6.6 minutes of straight auto attacking, which is a fairly unrealistic example. Moving on to the next talent here at 4, we're faced with survivability options for Raynor. The big choices here are Behemoth Armor, which provides 200 maximum health immediately, as well as a stacking 5 health every time Give 'Em Some Pepper lands a hero as the primary target, or Fight or Flight, which gives a 10-second cooldown reduction to Raynor's self-heal, as well as 25 armor for 3 seconds. This can be a bit trickier to demonstrate, so we'll be looking at the total amount of damage it takes to kill Raynor at level 4 when you get the talent, and again at level 20. We'll call this derived value his effective health. Since his base kit allows for a 25% self-heal, I've included it as part of my total effective health calculation. At base, Raynor has 2,121 effective health at 4 and 3,975 effective health at 20. Behemoth Armor immediately adds 250 health to Raynor's overall survivability with no stacks due to the way it interacts with this self-heal. Fight or Flight, on the other hand, has to prevent damage in order for it to provide a benefit. An armor value of 25 gives a total increase in effective health of 33%, assuming it covers your entire health bar. So I've made comparisons in effective health increase by taking different percents of your overall health into the armor. As we can see, you're getting a benefit over Behemoth Armor if more than 25% of your health is shielded from Fight or Flight. Behemoth Armor can make up for this difference with stacks, but in general, as the game progresses, the relationship stays the same. If you can consistently shield more than 25% of your health with the armor, it just provides more value than stacks. However, there is an Achilles heel baked into Fight or Flight which can ruin it. When you activate the armor, you also activate Raynor's self-heal, which procs 4 times over 1 second. If any of that healing is wasted to you being at full health, it hits the increase in effective health considerably. Basically, at 4, you penalize the effective health gains of Fight or Flight between 0 and 564 total health, or between 0 and 1058 health at 20. Really, this lets us conclude 2 things. 1, if you precast the armor at full health and you waste the heal, you're shooting yourself in the foot so hard you might as well have not taken the talent. And 2, a 75% total coverage is realistically our best case scenario for Fight or Flight. So in the end, Fight or Flight, if handled correctly, provides more benefits more reliably than Behemoth Armor. Behemoth Armor does have the benefit of being always on, so if you're disconfident in your ability to apply the self-heal and armor, this talent is still worthwhile, it just technically provides less survivability. Moving on to the next talent tier at 7, Unstable Compound provides a massive uptime increase on slows as it causes Give 'em Some Pepper to slow the main and splash targets by 10%. This also increases your splash radius, which means when you pick Ace in the Hole, it's an auto pick. Moving on to level 10, we have Raynor's heroic talents. Both Hyperion and Banshee are good and provide good boosts to his overall damage. I personally tend to prefer Hyperion for its area denial and siege potential, but both of these are fantastic abilities. But if we're looking for which talent provides more damage overall, the winner's going to be Banshee. Theoretically, Banshee can provide 12,400 damage to heroes over 100 seconds, while Hyperion can only do 5,880 in that same time frame. Don't let that fool you though. In a team fight, Hyperion can drop over 1,000 damage onto 4 heroes when played correctly. This is why I say it's personal preference, but technically Banshee does provide more damage overall. Moving on to level 13, we have another personal preference for increasing your damage. Rallying Cry increases Inspire's duration by 1 second, providing an extra 1.6 attacks, or about 353 damage per cast, which is pretty good, but the real value comes from sharing your move and attack speed buffs with your teammates. On the other side of that, Giddy Up provides a static 8% move speed while mounted or unmounted, which means you move a total of 18% faster under the effects of Inspire. This allows for safer play and more aggressive repositioning, which translates to more uptime on your auto attacks, so this is generally my preference. That's going to bring us to 16, with another choice for a big damage increase. Your choices are Bounty Hunter, which causes Give 'em Some Pepper to hit its primary target for an additional 3% of the hero's health. Additionally, it also allows you to activate Give 'em Some Pepper manually, allowing you to apply the bonus damage a maximum of twice over 2 auto attacks. It's important to note that percent-based health damage can't be modified in Heroes in the Storm, so Ace in the Hole cannot influence this additional damage. This is up against Paint Them Red, which increases the damage of Raynor's Q, Penetrating Round, for an additional 50% damage, and causing him to heal for 90% of the damage dealt. For Paint Them Red, the modified damage is not increased by a full 15% from Ace in the Hole. Rather, the base damage of his Q is multiplied by 1.65 instead of 1.5 when determining damage. So for Paint Them Red, you gain either 206 or 268 damage on a single target per cast, depending on whether or not Ace in the Hole is procced, while Bounty Hunter nets you 3% bonus damage, which scales based on your target. In order for Bounty Hunter to match the damage bonus per proc, the target hero would need a health pool of at least 6,866 health for a non-aced Q, which is very doable. Or it would need to hit a hero with a health pool of 8,933 or more to match the damage of a Q modified by Ace in the Hole, which is going to be limited to something more like a full charge Diablo or Stitches. To see who wins out for more damage, let's compare. You can cast Penetrating Round 2 times in 10 seconds, while you can get 3 to 4 procs of Bounty Hunter in the same window. Expanding on that comparison, we see that in order for bonus damage of Paint Them Red to outperform Bounty Hunter, it either needs to hit 2+ targets each time, or Bounty Hunter needs to be targeting a target with 3,000 health or less. So in terms of damage, it comes down to your game situation. If you're hitting primarily light targets, or if the enemy is consistently grouping, allowing for 2+ hits per cast, Paint Them Red gives more value. But in most cases where high health targets are going to be in your scope, Bounty Hunter provides more damage more consistently. Both of these talents also come with the survivability aspect. Bounty Hunter gives 10 armor for 3 seconds, whenever it procs give him some pepper, while Paint Them Red heals for 90% of the damage dealt. This comparison is actually pretty laughable, because the 10 armor provides about 379 effective health for survivability, assuming the armor affects your entire effective health bar, while Paint Them Red heals you for either 556 or 612 health per target hit. So for 16, you're really going to have to look at your game and choose the best talent for the situation. If you need survivability, or your targets are grouping or squishies, Paint Them Red is a go-to. But if the enemy team has large health pools, then Bounty Hunter may win out. This breakdown should give you the clarity to choose between these two talents. And that's going to bring us to 20. Yes, 20, where Blizzard gives every hero in the game some pants-on-head, stupidly broken talent because they just want the game to be over. Here you're going to have 3 choices, one for your level 10 upgrade, and 2 more general picks. For Raynor, upgrading his Hyperion nets you cooldown reduction and a 2-second unstoppable on your Inspire, which basically gives you unstoppable on a 17% uptime. That's not bad if you need to counter a lot of CC coming your way, but maybe it's not the best choice. Your other heroic improvement literally makes your Banshee 100% better, so you gain overall 184 DPS off of your Raider, which is pretty nifty. And spoilers, if you took the Raider as your talent at 10, this is going to outperform anything except for weak spot acquired in a blow-up comp. Then there's the tricky choice between Execute and weak spot acquired, for Raynors who took Hyperion and don't need the Unstoppable. At base, Execute gives you a 20% increase in auto attack speed, which translates to a 20% increase in damage, so your 363 auto attack DPS jumps to 436, or an increase of 73 damage per second. But this talent really opens up when targets are below 50% health, as it confers a 25% increase in basic attack damage. Super important to note, that is any target, not just heroes, so minions, monsters, buildings, whatever are influenced by this. In that instance, Raynor's DPS spikes up to a whopping 519, which is an increase of 156 damage per second over base, which is massive. Opposite this, we have Weak Spot Acquired, which gives a minus 25 armor debuff to procs of Give 'em Some Pepper. That negative debuff to armor is multiplicative with the bonus damage from Ace in the Hole, so in the 2-second window that the debuff exists, you can sneak in 3 auto attacks per proc if you use Inspire, or 2 base. Since we didn't include Inspire in our other comparison for Execute, we're not going to be using that for our comparison of Weak Spot Acquired either. With Weak Spot Acquired, your overall basic attack damage jumps up to 424 damage per second, or a net increase of 61 damage per second, meaning that you need at least 96 damage or more to come from other sources per proc of Weak Spot Acquired in order to exceed Execute. That's not a particularly tall order in HOTS. However, when compared to the full Steam Execute, you need at least 760 damage to come from other sources per proc in order to at least even out. That's far from impossible, but much harder to do every single time it comes up. However, it's much easier to pile in more damage over a tighter time frame, making it desirable in blow-up comps. In the end, Execute is going to provide more damage from Raynor overall, especially when you consider that it influences siege damage, not just hero damage. However, if you are running a blow-up comp where damage is spiked onto a single target in a small time frame, then Weak Spot Acquired may provide more value. Compiling all of this information, I'm of the opinion that to give you those good max deeps, your 1 through 7 choices are pretty set in stone. You should be picking up Ace in the Hole at 1, Fight or Flight at 4, and Unstable Compound at 7. As I explained, your 13 through 20 choices have you making decisions based upon your needs in the match, allowing Raynor to flex to survivability if need be, or fine-tuning his damage based upon his targets. And that's pretty much everything for Raynor. If you like this video, please give a like and subscribe, and if you want a breakdown of other characters or aspects of the game, please leave a comment below.